Hello and welcome to the Inspiration and Enlightenment Workshop. Today I'm going to talk about enlightenment and psychology, how they complement each other and how they can learn from each other. I start by comparing modern psychology, positive psychology and enlightenment psychology. If you want to know what enlightenment psychology is, I explain that in a free email mini course on my website www.inspirationandenlightenment.com. I will put the link in the show notes. Modern psychology emancipated itself from philosophy in the second half of the 19th century, mainly to find more effective ways of dealing with mental abnormalities. And I believe it made its first public appearance as Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis was a bit of a child of its time. For example, Freud believed that the sex drive was the primary drive, but that appeared probably only so because of the rampant intellectualism and suppression of sexuality in the Victorian age. Freud didn't believe that it was possible to fix mental disorders. Carl Jung begged to differ and took psychology to the next level. And today, probably thanks to him, we can avail of many treatments like medication, psychotherapy, group therapy, hypnosis and behavior modification. Modern psychology contents itself with the classification and treatment of abnormalities. It has, is and will be a pathology. Modern psychologists, however, can't define what is normal. Normality is a ghost. In fact, there is no English term for a normal state of mind. I tried to find one for my Esprit value chain graph and ended up calling it common sense. The thing is, everybody is different, and abnormality is actually the norm. How to decide whether a psychological trait is a bug or a feature? This is where modern psychology draws the line. A person requires treatment if it is harmful to itself or society. Harmful can be a blur too, especially in the context of enlightenment. Now, positive psychology is fairly new and it looks beyond pathology and it examines and cultivates healthy states of mind. It is a scientific study of the strengths that enable individuals and communities to thrive. The field is founded on the belief that people want to lead meaningful and fulfilling lives, to cultivate what is best within themselves, their heart's desire, and to enhance the experiences of love, work and play. And the man who initiated that is called Martin Seligman. He's the founder of positive psychology. And I strongly recommend you watch his TED Talk about positive psychology. In the words of the Inspiration and Enlightenment Workshop, positive psychology nurtures the four intangibles of the soul, which is love, happiness, purpose, and beauty, and encourages people to pursue their heart's desire, of course. Now, Enlightenment psychology goes beyond modern and positive psychology. The latter concern themselves more with the avatar, self-consciousness, and the subconsciousness. The goal of Enlightenment psychology is evolution, the access to higher states of mind, superconsciousness. So it promotes heightened awareness, the realization of the soul and the higher self, and access to other realities. The ultimate attainment of Enlightenment psychology is nothing short of cosmic consciousness. On a side note, the fulfillment of the heart's desire is an important part of enlightenment, but is not a central concern. It's more like a puzzle piece for the soul, an important experience the soul has to cover in order to advance his cosmic career. So if you look at the inspiration and enlightenment value chain, so everything below the horizontal line, that's more or less pathology. Yeah, when something is wrong, when something is negative, and the worst expression of that is suicidal, and then comes depression, and then dysthymia, which is a sort of a slight depression. So that's what modern psychology as a pathology will deal with. Positive psychology then covers the fields the hound race and motivated life. Now usually people talk about the rat race, yeah, the daily grind, but I think that's a little bit misleading. We humans are predators, so the daily grind is not a rat race, it's a hound race. And we are very competitive. Motivation is what makes you pursue, positive states of mind, and in particular your heart's desire. Enlightenment psychology works above that. In particular, is concerned with inspirations that come down to us from higher states of mind, and enlightenment, the evolution of consciousness. Now, if we compare the psychological models that we derive from these three different disciplines, Freud identified the three spheres of mental activity: the ego, the superego, and the id. The id is the subconsciousness, what is below, and is mostly prone to the pleasure principle. The ego represents our conscious individuality that tries to mediate between the id's desires and pleasures and the external world. So what we want and what is possible. The superego represents education, religion, morale, and civilization. Not much has changed since then. Yeah, the model hasn't been altered significantly. Maybe Howard Gardner is worth mentioning, who identified 9 intelligences, which in my view more appear as faculties or abilities of these 3 spheres, above, self-consciousness, and below. And I'm just going to list them here. It's the natural intelligence, the naturalistic intelligence, musical intelligence, logical mathematical intelligence, existential intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, linguistic intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, and spatial intelligence. The model of Enlightenment psychology also has 3 main layers: the subconsciousness, the self-consciousness, and superconsciousness. But superconsciousness is the soul and the higher self. Education and experiences that form our avatar are more like on the self-conscious level. The other difference is that Enlightenment psychology recognizes emotions and spheres as separate spheres of activity that function independently of the subconsciousness and of the avatar or self-consciousness. Enlightenment psychology is ancient. Yeah? I give you one example. There's Patanjali. He lived 200 BC and he authored the Yoga Sutras. According to him, the mind is made out of 3 faculties, the number 3 again, which he called manas, buddhi, and ahamkara. In in their book, The Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali, How to Know God, Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood illustrate these three faculties as follows. Manas, the mind, notices that a large object is quickly approaching. Buddhi, intelligence, decides that's a bull, it's angry, it wants to attack someone. Ahamkara, the ego or avatar, screams, it wants to attack me. Patanjali, I see this bull, I am frightened, I'm about to run away. Later, from the branches of a nearby tree, Ahamkara may add, now I know that this bull, which is not I, is dangerous. There are others who don't know this. It's my own personal knowledge which will help me to avoid this bull in the future. So I made this little diagram that compares the different spheres of the psychological models. The one from Freud is, as discussed, the superego, the ego and the id. Patanjali has the Buddha, Buddhi. Buddha is the super consciousness, the Buddha mind. Then Buddhi, which is the discerning faculty. Ahamkara, mind, and manas. The Enlightenment Psychology model, and I use the Tree of Life as a model, has the higher self and the soul on top, then the sphere of intellect and emotions, the avatar and the mind, and below that, subconsciousness. The other big difference between psychology and enlightenment is that enlightenment considers everything to be conscious. So not only we are conscious beings, but the universe is a conscious being. It is alive. The Godness, the Creator, created and maintains the universe in its mind, just like we produce a little universe in our mind. The universe around us and everything in it is literally made out of consciousness, out of awareness. And we partake in a grand collective dream. So Enlightenment Psychology does not only describe our personal mentality, but also the mentality of the Godness or the Creator. Like us, the Godness has a mind, it has emotions, it has rationality and subconsciousness. As above, so below. And we are not separate from the Godness and the universe, as it seems to our discerning mind. The Godness forms the inner and higher levels of the totality of ourself, and think of the Godness as the self of our higher self. That is why we can raise our awareness to higher levels and even to the level of God, of the Godness, and reach cosmic consciousness, which then explains the cocky demand of spiritual tradition that asks you, know God. Thank you for watching this episode of the Inspiration and Enlightenment Workshop Slow Talk. Please help spreading the light with a share and a like. Thank you for watching. Love and light.